Welcome to another episode of The Wealth Defenders with Terry Cox. He's got nearly 20 years of money management experience, and he wants to help you get your money right. And he's licensed in multiple states. Terry, how are you?
Bruce, I'm good, man. How's life in the big city?
Oh, it's going well. How are the morning workouts going? Because since we last talked, on the last show you mentioned you're waking up at 4 a.m. to get after it. And how are things going in that department?
It's going good, man. You know, for me, if I don't get up and get it done early, it's not getting done. And it's an important aspect of my life. So got to make sure I get up and get out there. And it's a great way to start the day, you know, get the blood flowing, get the mind working, ready to rock and roll when you walk into the office.
Man, I'm the same way. I get up, I go running. I don't wake up at 4 a.m., but I do get up in the morning and I go running in the morning. And it sets the tone for the entire day. And generally it's the hardest thing you got to do all day. So you know it's downhill from there.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you can get up and get that done, the rest is a piece of cake.
That's right. And I think it's important because it also brings balance to your day. You got the easy part and the hard part. And that balance is critical for being well-rounded. And it's also critical to have that well-balanced portfolio. And I think that's what we're talking about today. Just
to get into it, you know, traditionally, kind of a rule of thumb of the portfolios that people like to use are 60-40 portfolios, 60% stock, 40% bond.
Okay.
Well, whenever you get started, whether it's today, it was last month, it was 2 years ago, once you get started, something's going to happen, right? Market's going to go up, market's going to go down, stock prices are going to go up, bond prices are going to go up or down. So that's why we like to rebalance portfolios, because if you're in a 60-40 split, and let's say the stock market starts to accelerate, and suddenly the stock portion of your portfolio is suddenly grown to 70%, and your bond portion has shrunk to 30%, we like to go in and rebalance and skim that 10% profit out of the stocks and move it into the bonds. Because the oldest advice in the world is you buy low and you sell high. That's right. You don't want to do it the other way. But if you're selling high on the stock portfolio, chances are bond prices are down. So you can step in and buy some bonds at a discounted price, and vice versa. Say there's a pullback in the stock market, and now suddenly bonds have grown to 50% of the portfolio. We can take some of that profit and buy some of the stocks that are on a dip. And if you do this over time, not only are you going to keep yourself in your 60-40 range, but you're also going to be capturing profits and buying additional shares at discounted prices.
Okay.
And the reason that is important is because, particularly on the bonds, the bond funds that pay you dividends every single month, is you get paid off of the number of shares that you own. So if you're buying additional bonds at discounted prices, you're increasing the income level inside the portfolio. And you can do that with stocks as well. If you're buying dividend paying stocks, you know, if they take a dip, you're getting more for your money. Now every quarter when they're paying their dividends, they're paying you more. So take advantage of it.
Okay. So 60-40 then, that is considered best practice.
That has been historically over the years considered best practice, yes.
But why? Why is that? Who came up with this, and then what's the rationale?
So the rationale is that it still gives you a growth element with some safety in it.
Okay.
But you know, that's just, like I said, it's just kind of a rule of thumb. That's a theory that somebody came up with a number of years ago. But based on individual clients' comfort level with risk, we can either decrease that or we can increase it. I have some clients that are running I have some clients that are running in a 90-10, 90 stock, 10% bonds.
High risk.
Yeah. And then, you know, I have some people that are at like 35 stocks and 65 bonds. So it all depends on the comfort level with risk.
And well, speaking of that, I wanted to interject. Age has got to have a factor in this too, because I guess if you're older, you want to have less risk. But if you're younger like me, you're okay with that, maybe that 90-10 split, and assuming a bit more liability.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're in your 20s, maybe even your 30s, maybe I shouldn't say this, but there's really not a lot the market can do to hurt you if you're continuing to buy the dips. You know, when like the last 2 years when the Fed raising interest rates, wreaked havoc on the stock market. That's when you should be buying, because you're getting more for your money, and the more shares you have, the more income that you're going to be paid off of your dividends.
See, people keep telling me that buy and hold is the way, but I want to hear it from the wealth defender, Terry Cox. Is this the winning strategy here?
Yeah, if your window is, if you've got good runway in your window, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because that compound interest that we've heard talked about all the years, it's not just in a savings account at a bank. It's also in your portfolio.
Okay.
With these dividend paying stocks. Not all stocks pay dividends, but a majority of them do. So if let's say you bought 100 shares of XYZ and you're 25 years old and it's paying you some dividends. Well, you don't need the dividend income in your pocket right now because you're probably working and you've got a good living going on and you're trying to build your savings. So now you let those dividends reinvest and buy more shares. So if you bought XYZ at whatever, $25 a share, and you let the dividends reinvest for 20, 30, 40 years, your share base has grown. And depending on how many of those dividend paying stocks and or bonds that you have in your portfolio, you might be in a position that when you step into retirement, you say, hey, stop reinvesting those dividends and send them to me. And that's my income in retirement.
I like that. And that's shifting from an accumulation mindset to a spending mindset at that point.
Yes. Yep. Because we spend so much time thinking about saving and planning, and we never come up with a spending strategy. So that's what right. I like. That's what I like to do with my clients that are approaching retirement. They're getting into that retirement red zone. Okay, let's take a look at your budget. What's that going to look like when you step into retirement? Are you still going to have a house payment? House going to be paid off? Any car payments? That lets us, then I can look in the portfolio and say, hey, you've got X number of dollars flowing through your account. That might be enough to offset, some of your living expenses in retirement.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It seems like, we live in America and we're all about hustling here. It's hustle culture, especially for our viewers in DC, New York, LA, Miami. It's all about getting that money. So we spend so much of our lives in that mode. When it's time to kind of let off that gas pedal, it feels a bit strange. We want to maybe continue to grow, but you're saying that we don't have to stay locked into that mindset.
No, not at all. Not at all. There's so many vehicles out there that will produce income, whether it's these dividend paying stocks that we've been talking about, bonds, fixed income annuities, which you can kind of look at as being a personal pension. The earlier that we can take a look at what your budget is today and what it's going to look like in the future, we can then reposition your portfolio. If we've been rebalancing for a number of years and we've captured profits and we've locked in some profits and we've got some good income, we can say, hey, you know what, maybe this is a good time to take a look at something else that's going to produce income. Because once you stack that up against Social Security, we talk about personal pensions because work pensions have gone away for the most part. There's a few still floating out there.
God, sad,
yeah. So that's why, looking at retirement today is a little different than our parents looked at retirement because, it used to be you spend 30 years with a company, you walk out the door with a gold watch and a pension plan.
Right.
And now you've coupled that with Social Security. You've probably got, $3,000 or $4,000 a month coming in. And if you bought your house back then for, God knows how much it was, $50,000, $100,000. Cheap. It's probably cheap. It's probably been paid for. And, you were in a really good position. But, once housing prices went up, then you had to go to 2 income families. Now we're dealing with a whole different dynamic than our folks did. So the extra element of planning really comes into play these days.
Now, what about the tax situation? Because I know people think about taxes and you have to when it comes to rebalancing. So give us the straight dope. How can we think about taxes and how to come out on top of the tax man when we are rebalancing our portfolios? Yeah,
so that there's two parts to that answer. So if you're rebalancing in your retirement account, you've got some tax shelter there. So there's not going to be any tax implications. But if you're in what we call a non-qualified plan, a regular investor's account that has no tax shelter on it, kind of the magic number we're looking for is the 1 year mark. Because if you buy something and you make a profit and you sell it in less than 12 months, you're on the hook for short-term capital gains, which is a big number. I think that's like 35 or 40% these days.
Ooh.
Yeah. Don't quote me on that, but it's a big number.
Right.
Once you clear a year, 12 months plus 1 day to be exact, now you move into long-term capital gains where that can just kind of get blended into your tax filing. So it could be less than that. So you want to be cognizant of the 1 year mark in the non-qualified accounts.
That 30% hit, that's rough.
Yes, it is.
That's real rough. I tell you, 1/3, but a little more than 1/3 of what you earned over a year. So it seems like unless you're trying to play the market hardcore, you want to make sure that you're holding on to that stuff for more than a year.
Yes, to maximize your profits and really accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Now, sometimes, if you catch XYZ stock and it just, you get lucky and it blows up on you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's worth it just to take the tax hit and move on, depending on how much you've made. But for the most part, be cognizant of the 1 year mark.
So for our viewers out there who are members of Wall Street Bets on Reddit and they're doing calls and puts on GameStop and they've hit the jackpot, in that situation, go ahead and cash out because you probably won't get that again.
That's right. Easy come, easy go.
Right? Easy come, easy go. Wise words. Wise words. And I like that we brought that up because you don't want to get greedy out here.
That's
greed. Right. Is it good? I don't know. I'm thinking of that movie. Greed is good.
Wall Street.
Wall Street. Yes. Oh, absolutely. Classic.
Yeah.
What other strategies can we talk about for portfolio rebalancing here that people need to know about?
So that's why it's so important. Number one, as you're getting going, making sure that you've got enough cash set aside to cover you for 3 to 6 months. But that's going to be your base. But when you start building your portfolios, you want to have a blend of things that we refer to as non-qualified, non-IRA money, non-401k money, and then you've got your 401k IRA money. So like I mentioned earlier, anything under those retirement plans, we're not impeded by taxes when we're doing rebalancing. Mm-hmm. So if we're buying mutual funds or exchange traded funds, that's going to kind of let us buy the time that we need to get you past the 1 year mark, because chances are those things aren't going to go up, 50, 60% in a year. But it gives you the diversification that you need. It could give you the dividends that you need. It could give you the growth that you need. So that's why we always start off with our risk tolerance questionnaire to find out people's comfort level with risk. And then we build them portfolios and that match their risk score, and it's going to allow them to get where they want to get safely and on time.
Ooh, fantastic. That's the key right there, safely and on time, because like you mentioned earlier, this is a target you want to hit, and you want to hit it at the appropriate time and make sure you're accurate on top of that too.
Yes, because not all of your investments are about retirement. Some of them are, maybe you're saving for your first house. Maybe you're saving for a college education for a child. So all of these elements are going to come into play for a well-rounded portfolio.
Love that. Well, I know we got listeners out there and viewers out there who are curious and they want some more information about how they can get that well-rounded portfolio. And they have access to you, Terry, don't they?
They do. Give us a call, because every week we set aside some appointment slots for our viewers and listeners. If they hear something that resonates and they want to come in and they want to have a free consultation, we've got some time set aside for you. Give us a call. Take advantage of that. Let's find out where you're at today. Let's find out where you want to be. Let's find out a portfolio that's appropriate for you, and we can get you off and running and rebalance as we need to.
Love that. We're going to put all that information on the screen right now. Take a look, call the number. We've also got an email address on there too. Mm-hmm. Terry is available to make sure that you can get your money right. Also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the Wealth Defenders podcast every week. This is the show that gives out the advice that you're going to want to hear to make sure that all of your money is working in the best possible capacity for you. Terry, anything you want to tell the people out there?
Absolutely. Hey, if anything you heard today resonated and you want more information, visit our website, www.tdc.financial. There's no .com or .net, tdc.financial. We have these podcasts are there in case you want to review them again. We have other tools on there. We have other videos. But yeah, give us a call. Feel free to, and you don't have to come into the office for that first consultation. If you want to do it on the phone, I'm happy to do that as well.
Love that. Terry, thanks again. Great talking to you. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds good, Bruce. Good to see you. Take care.
You too.
Information presented on this program is believed to be factual and up to date, but we do not guarantee its accuracy, and it should not be regarded as complete analysis of subjects discussed. Discussions and answers to questions do not involve the rendering of personalized investment advice, but are limited to the dissemination of general information. A professional advisor should be consulted before implementing any of the options presented. Encompass More Asset Management is registered as an investment advisor with the SEC and only transacts business in states where it is properly registered or is excluded or exempted from registration requirements. Registration with the SEC does not imply a certain level of skill or training.